Hello, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com. I'm playing Cities in Motion 2. As you can see, this is a new city. I decided to start a new city, and the reason why is because my old city became so big that the game wouldn't save anymore. It would give an out-of-memory error when I tried to save it. So I'm going to set up a completely new system over here, which is going to include the highway traffic. It's going to include all the rest of the infrastructure. Wow, what a design. Okay, so I'm going to start. You really want to have your city built before you start laying down things like subway lines. However, it takes a long time for that to happen. It takes a long time for the city to grow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making a subway line. I'm going to have it do like a circular loop type of a system. And you'll note that I also have the monorail. And I'm going to make it an underground system. Because I'm doing a loop, I'm going to make it start... Oh, yeah, you don't want to do that. I'm going to make it start in a certain direction. I went too far again. Okay, like this. And I'm going to go to my little train thing here. I'm going to build this type of track. Well, yeah, we gotta get rid of that. And you want to build about 8 meters under. So I'm going to follow along this road right here. And I'm not building it directly under the road. I'm building it alongside the road, which has advantages. It's going to make it easier to do things like place stops and things like that. You can definitely run into problems if you build underneath a road. So now I am going to switch. I'm going to follow along the second road. It's good to find a road that goes all the way across the map. A nice long straight road, such as unfortunately that one wasn't. I have to build under the tunnel here. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a tricky build. Oh, there it was. I had it. Okay. Bring it back up to 8 meters. And I don't care which side of the road I'm on. I'm not that picky. As long as I can keep on building. Ultimately, what matters is that you use the coverage map to find out where you've built existing track and where you haven't. So I've almost made it all the way to the end. And then I'm going to loop around and come back down. So at this point, I'm going to start to make a bend. And we're going to find out if we can go under. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. It looks like in this case we can. And I'm going to follow one of these roads down. Just arbitrarily pick this one. You don't want to be too close to the water either. The the metro has a radius, and where we are, we should be able to get most of the people that live near the water. I'm more concerned with efficiency. Like I said, with the last game, I didn't have enough memory to save the game because the map was just so huge. I don't want to repeat that. I want to have a different game this time. I want to be able to save my game for as long as I play it. You can see there's already traffic on the road. I'm also playing with the sandbox mode, so I'm playing with the infinite money. Money isn't a problem once you start building metro lines. Metro lines bring in a lot of income very quickly. And they're definitely worth laying down. Because of the highway, I'm going to cross over to the other side to be between the highway and the lake. And I'm almost at the southern tip. It doesn't really make sense to go under the highway right now because nobody lives over there. Now the whole object is going to be to reconnect with the station, which will happen soon, of course. It's just a matter of time. And there's the station. Now there's an issue with reconnecting, and that is that you don't want trains to bump into each other, which can happen. So we want the trains to have a crossover bridge. So anybody that's going to the north is going to cross over. Like so. It's actually going to be to go underneath, and we want it to be automatic, so I'm going to remove this piece, and I'm going to connect from here to here. Now they will, anyone who wants to run on the by heading north is automatically going to go over that crossover. Okay, so the next thing to do is to place stops. You go over here to where it says, to where you have a stop, which is right there. And you're going to build it where all the people live, obviously. So here's going to be my first stop. When you build the metros, it's really not that important where you build the stops. And the reason why is because there's something called a teleporter, which is the entrance to the metro, and it's going to be built along the nearest road. And you'll note that I'm building a stop going in each direction. This way I can have trains running in each direction. And it takes a while, you know, takes a long time to put all the stops in. You'll note that there's a green circle, which is the coverage area, and you want them to overlap somewhat when you place your stops. You'll note that over here I placed the rail too close to the water, So they're not going to have as much coverage because part of the coverage obviously is in the water. The great thing about the metro system, it takes a while to put the track down, it takes a while to put the stops in, and it takes a while to put the line in that shows where the train's going to go, what stops it's going to make. But once you get that done, everything else is pretty self-running. You only have to do this once. Now here we have an exception. We can't put a stop right here because people aren't going to use the expressway in order to get onto the train. So I'm going to move it over here, which is a little bit closer to the other stop that I wanted. Keep on moving. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to avoid using buses on this particular map. And I'm going to avoid using the trams. I'm not saying that I'm not going to do it, but they're going to be my last resort. Because again, I don't want to run into that problem with the out of memory error. And I don't know what causes it, but obviously it's the more tracks and buses and stuff you have running, the more problems you're going to have. Almost made it to the top. So we're probably about a third of the way done. And then I'm going to lay one route going one way around the island. And the other route I will either do following or I'll save it for later. There are other SimCity type building games. For example, there is the original SimCity, which I probably played originally on the Commodore 64 or something like that a long time ago, the late 1980s. And there is Cities XL. Cities XL, it's got good things about it. It's not perfect, and you've got City Skylines. I don't think City Skylines is that great, but people have been doing some amazing things with it. And you've got the new SimCity, which uses different regions, and I think it's pretty cool, but the problem is the game's too easy, and I figured out how to make lots of money easily, so it's not a challenge anymore. But Cities in Motion 2 remains a challenge. I still like playing this game. Another city building game that I used to play was called Industry Giant and Industry Giant 2. And I did like playing that game, but unfortunately there was a bug in it. Once you got to be pretty big, there was a bug where vehicles would just stop and create a traffic jam, and you could never figure out how to fix it. And this has its bugs too, but fortunately I know how to work my way around the bugs that it has. Look to see what's on the surface. There's nothing there, so I'm not going to put any stops there, although of course there will be something there in the future. And one thing that I've noticed, if you have a good system down, you're not going to see a lot of traffic. When I first played the original version of Cities in Motion, I used to get tons of traffic jams, and it must be because I had a bad system. Now you'll note that part of the rail is underneath the road, which makes it difficult to put stops down, which is why you don't want to do that. It just makes it a lot more difficult. Here's another example. It crossed under the road, and I can't put the stops where I want to. And I think the other version had airplanes and helicopters, the version that came before this. I don't remember. Or at least I did have a game that did. Industry Giant was cool because you would actually run production. Here's what I don't like about Cities in Motion. It's good because, yeah, you're running a transit system. Okay, this is a mistake. You can see that the teleporter is built on the highway here, so we don't want that. We got to get rid of this. I like the fact that you can have all the things like the monorails and the metros and the buses and things like that. But what the game is missing is things like if you want to do mail delivery or school buses or garbage delivery, all those things are missing from this game. Anything that's related to production, like cargo, like having a factory producing goods and delivering it from one place to another, is also missing from this game. And I think if it had it, it would be a killer game. It would be way better than SimCity. But unfortunately, they did City Skylines instead. Over here, I'm not going to build any stops. So the next thing you do is you go over here and you create a new line, and you want to close this window because it will get in your way. And you click here to add a stop, and you're always going to start at your depot. And I'm going to go this way. You'll see it automatically took my little underpass. And you probably want to zoom out when you do this. You'll note that a line is forming between the stops. It's possible that you click and sometimes the stop doesn't get added. So you want to make sure that the yellow number 0 turns to a white number 0 so that the stop actually gets added, because it can be difficult to add the stop in later. I know how to do it, but it's a pain in the butt to do it. If you haven't done it the first time, it will be difficult. Okay, so I'm about 30% done laying the stops. Planning the route. And once this is done, I'm going to buy some trains, and they're going to start running. Another thing that you'll note is that people can actually start going to the stops before you have the route finished, and before you even buy trains. I've seen people show up at stops before. In the beginning of the game, don't expect a lot of people to ride the system. Okay, you'll see I missed that one. That one did not get added. So you're going to buy trains and nobody will ride them. It does take a while before people start riding your system. Part of the reason why is because they're on their way somewhere and they're either walking or driving and they have to get to where they're going. So you have to wait until they need to go somewhere, and it will take probably 24 hours of game time, or perhaps 12 hours of game time, before they'll pick up on the transit system. Okay, so then you click the depot at the end, and we've got a full route. It went all the way around. And I'm going to close the little eyeball. You'll see on the map how it flashes on and off. But what will happen is you'll end up getting too many routes. So once you start getting large numbers of routes, you're going to want to keep that closed. For now, it's not that big of a deal because you can shut off like large numbers of routes at once. You want to go to your depot next, and you want to go here where it has the little coins by the vehicles and buy some vehicles. But you got to figure out how many you need. And it's recommending 6 vehicles. I know that 6 vehicles is not enough. I'm going to buy 8. It's good for the beginning of the game. And as you can see, my first vehicle is on his way. There he goes. Going underneath there. And we can watch him if we want. I can click on this little thing over here. Oh, so it's showing the route that he's taking, but it's not showing the underground. but that's okay. When we have an above ground train, we'll get to follow them. Okay, so that's how you lay it down. And it can be fun laying down tracks and monorails and all that stuff, but I like doing roads more than everything. Now, as you can see with the coverage, that's what our coverage looks like. When I lay down my next track, it's also going to be a loop, but it's going to be alongside this track, looping around the outside, the parts that I missed. And occasionally connecting to a station, like if I don't know if you can see the mouse pointer, but we would come up through this area here. Okay. Where it's all red, and connect to one of these stops that I've highlighted, and then reconnect to where the red is. And when you do that, people can transfer between lines and get on and off the stops. You want them to ideally get off at the stop without having to get on the surface and walk around. And we can have them come from the same station if we want. The station can handle far more trains than it already does. So one thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to plan a route that these guys can take that will kind of zigzag and mix in with the existing route, cover the other areas, let people get to where they're going. And I'm going to start right here. And it's also going to be a double line. I'm going to cross under here. And then I'm going to go back up. And there's two ways to plan the route, and it's going to be very difficult. It's not going to be easy. You probably want your coverage map, so you're going to put a keep active when hidden. And you're going to plot like this. And you have to plot your rail, which is right here, while viewing the surface, because we've got to go through this red neighborhood. And I'm going to watch the coverage for the yellow neighborhood to see where it overlaps. And I think that right over here is a smart way to do it. Based on playing the game for a while, I know that I should get an overlapping coverage for most of the stops if I do it right here. However, like I said, we want to share stops so that people will get on and off and switch between lines. So I'm going to do that in this area right here. I'm going to connect this line to here. One lane will be a single lane going in, and the other one is going to go underneath and reconnect, which is going to be very difficult to do, if not impossible. But I'm going to give it a shot. Yeah, it's going to be real difficult. Oh, obviously okay, I know what I did wrong. I didn't go deep enough. One of the things you also have to be aware of when you lay these tracks down, you have to make sure that you do have, in fact, a connection. Because if you don't, the train won't actually be able to ride on the rail that you put. And I'll show you an example when we get there. Okay, so that's not going to connect. I'm going to try to do it like this. See if I can get a connection from here to here first. Okay, so it did connect. Basically, you want to make sure that the rail does make a connection. If it doesn't, if the rail piece is missing, then perhaps the angle that you did it at is incorrect. Now this has to go to 16 meters, plus it has to connect to here. And I did see a connection, so I know it's going to work. There it is, come on. And you want to verify that there is in fact a rail there. Okay, so now I know it looks like a dumb connection, but they are going to be able to share the connection, the station. And we're going to go back to the surface. And get him out of here. Oh, I did it wrong. I'm using the page down key in order to get me deeper below the surface. Okay, so he's got to come back to this area where he was to grab those passengers. And then we'll have him reconnect at another station. Okay, there's a submerged road over here that I have to cross. And we don't know how deep it is, but it's definitely there. Okay, so I did it. Then I'm going to bring it back up to 8 meters. And I'm going to check on the surface to see how I'm doing. Get back to the regular rail layout. Going to keep on moving. We got to make another connection so that people can switch lines to get to where they're going. And that connection is going to be right here. Okay. That is cool. And then, from this other side, you can see that I missed some of the buildings over here. We're going to make a new line that's going to start over here. And it's going to go to some of these other neighborhoods. And I'm going to keep my eye on that coverage area. So that I can get as many people as possible. And at some point we are going to merge with this other rail. I think this is a great place to do it right here. I'm going to do it right at the station. And I'm going to check the intersection to make sure the track's connected, and they did. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to split. And the split will start I will do it from here. and we're going to head towards some of these neighborhoods that don't have coverage yet. One of the things I liked about the other Cities in Motion is that it did have a map editor, and you could design your own maps, which I had a lot of fun doing. Okay, so from there I'm going to reconnect to here, I hope. Well, I guess I'm not. Wonder what happened. Maybe there's another one of those underground bridges somewhere. Okay, next thing to do is to lay down some stops. That looks good. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. Oh, I never made the first connection. Okay. So I need to make that first connection. I could just as easily go like this. Okay. And I'm going to remove this connection. And I'm going to start placing stops. So they're going to share that first stop. And there's always going to be people that use cars for whatever reason. Oh, look at that traffic jam. One thing about the last game that I played is, although I did have traffic jams, I figured out how to fix almost all of them. So what would happen is I just stopped having traffic jams after a while. With the exception of one building, which was my Sydney Opera House, which received a ton of traffic. And it will be returning to this game, and I'm definitely going to put it right next to a highway. And as I said before, even though I'm placing the subway stops going in both directions, at first I'm only going to put a line on one of them. I used to play a game called Railroad Tycoon, and my favorite version was version number 2. And I know it was around the year 2000. And it doesn't work on my computer anymore because it doesn't work on 64-bit operating systems. It only works on 32-bit. And I used to have 1,000 trains running. And I really enjoyed the game. I became very good at running trains. But unfortunately, when they came out with the new version, it was all three-dimensional. And the 3D graphics meant that my computer was unable to run more than 20 trains or so. So it wasn't quite as fun. The extra graphics did not make up for the loss in the game. There's another game called Sid Meier's Railroads, which I'm pretty good at. Has the same general idea. can see that the train line is underneath the road, which limits where I can place a stop. So I'm going to have an area over here with no coverage, which will have to be filled in later somehow. And the way I'm going to fill it is I'm going to offer another transit system. Perhaps it'll be a monorail that will go east and west and pick up all the gaps. So over here we're going to have a shared station, and then we're going to split off somewhere on the other side, I guess. And there's another shared station right there. You'll notice that it put the entranceway on the highway, which I might have to fix later. It shouldn't do that, but it does. I'm sure it means that very few people will use that stop. And then we get back to the area where we have some shared lines, and we will return to the station. Okay, hopefully I placed it right, so I'm going to create a new line. It'll be line number 2. And you start with the depot, and you will go to the first stop, and then the second stop is here. And if your stop doesn't work, it will give an error message saying that a vehicle can't get to the next stop. The other thing you'll notice about the metro system is that it has a larger coverage area. So you don't have to place as many. If you did this with a monorail or buses or trams, to cover the same area you'd have to place a lot more stops. If the green line connects to the next stop, that means that the route, the surface road, is valid. If I had not placed the track properly, it would not put the route to the next stop. There is another feature of the game where you can build your own trains. You can build an engine and add as many cars as you like. I haven't used the feature yet, but it is something that is available. And what's going to happen as I add each stop, if you watch the mini-map, you're going to see that the map is going to turn from red into yellow, meaning that I'm adding coverage. And here we have a shared stop. We're going to reconnect with the first line. And you can actually skip stops. Like, you don't have to connect to that stop a second time. People will be able to get on and off. In fact, I am going to skip a stop. You know what? I'm going to put it in, just in case. If we get a problem where trains start to get backed up, I can always remove it later. This is possibly one of the problem areas right here where the green line crosses over, and what I can do is build a tunnel that goes underneath and reconnects. But at this point in the game, we won't have any problems. What can happen is a train will go into the stop and it'll have a breakdown, which means it's going to sit there for a while, and then another train will get behind it and it will block the crossover point. Over here we're going to have a shared stop, which means that it is going to back up. And for example, if we have a train waiting over here and it crosses over and while it's waiting, then the trains going north won't be able to go north. That's why you need those tunnels and underpasses. And it's very important that the trains move as quickly as they can. You'll note that that stop has a red sad face, which means that the passengers have been waiting too long. So we need to change the schedule so that more trains run. They're not running fast enough. Or they could be blocked up somewhere. There shouldn't be any problems with maintenance. Maintenance happens if a train runs too long on its route and doesn't get back to the depot to get its repairs done. And then it will operate more slowly, perhaps at half the speed. Okay, so we went all the way around. That's the route. The next thing to do is figure out how many trains we need. It's recommending 7 trains. So I'm going to purchase 7 trains. Okay, so there's definitely a problem. You'll notice that Metro Line 1 has 0 trains running for some reason, and I don't know why. So I'm going to look at the messages here. It doesn't have any message as to the reason why there's no trains running. I'm going to check the maintenance. Let's see how that's doing. Everything's at 100%. So there's another reason why we've got a problem here. I'm going to turn this line off. It looks like maybe there's something wrong over here. I mean, it looks good. I hope some trains leave. Okay, so 1 train just left. So the problem was we had no trains running. Okay, now the green means that there's more than 1 transit service available to those people. A lot of these buildings might be empty. So don't be surprised if you've got empty buildings on your map. It happens. I'm going to find a place to put my Sydney Opera House. I want it to be near a highway, so I'm guessing something like this would probably do. This location right here. But I'm also going to have to build the on-ramps and the off-ramps. Okay, Sydney Opera House. We're going to need a really good road. Let's see if there's a place that's already ready to go. No, I don't see anything. You'll note that this highway doesn't connect to the road. And you don't want that. You want connections. You want people to be able to get on the highway and off the highway. So I'm going to make some connections. I'm going to connect from here to here. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. This road over here is called a boulevard. It's 3 lanes. I believe that this is the piece. And as you can see, it fits under that expressway. So I'm going to extend it out to here. And you have to be careful. You have to note the edge as you place it, because if you do it wrong, it won't build it at the surface level and it will make it into a bridge, and nothing will be able to build alongside of it. The other thing you want to do is make sure that all the roads you build have sidewalks. Sidewalks are required for buildings to spawn next to them. Okay, so there we have an on-ramp and an off-ramp for the highway. and I'm going to build another one here. Usually I have the off-ramps wider than the on-ramps. And you'll note that it's going to be a little bit more difficult to connect to the highway, but it's not impossible. Perhaps something like that will do. And I could also connect from here to here for the people that want to go that way. Okay, so that's how I build a basic intersection. You can see cars are already taking advantage of it. And this is probably where I'm going to build my landmark, which is going to be over here. It'll be the Sydney Opera House. You'll note it's pretty big, and it's going to need to have sufficient roads surrounding it for all the traffic that it's going to pull in. And based on my previous experience, you want to have the best roads possible. Part of the road is in yellow. That's where it's going to have to... That's where the slope of the land is uneven, which means it might build a tunnel or a bridge. Okay, Mr. Opera House. Let's see where you go. Hopefully this will do. I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to build a one-way street going all around it, like so. And it looks like it works. And I'm going to build a one-way street in the back. I'm going to remove the junction over here. Continue building, I hope I did it right. Continue building one-way street. Yeah, that was done wrong, obviously. Okay, so I need to remove this road and rebuild it without the, well, I guess I'm stuck with it now. Should have started from further away. Okay, I will try it again one more time. It's not that important. I'm sure it'll be fine. We'll find out. If it's a problem, I'll fix it later. And you'll know if it's a problem because there'll be tons of cars lined up in a huge traffic jam. And it's in red because it's not connected to any of the transit lines. I'm going to turn off the coverage indicators, and I'm going to see if I can build more on-ramps to the highway. Here's another place where I can build it, and this looks like a one-way road, so I'm going to use the same road connected from here to here. And then I'm going to go to the highway piece. Oops, sorry. For on-ramps, I use a single lane. And I try to make my on-ramps and off-ramps relatively small. You're welcome to make them as big as you want. The game is designed to set them up to be quite large. Okay, so this is not connecting, which is too bad. Okay, we got a connection there. We'll try going a little further back. It's going to be real difficult. I'm going to try a single lane road, and you can also try using, instead of the expressway piece, you can try using a regular one-way road. You'll see that there's dashed lines. Usually I start with the dashed line that's right equal to where the mouse is, and that's usually where I get the connection to make it equal to the other side. But since this is not connecting, I'm going to have to make an exception. The other thing to try again is the one-way road. Might connect. Oh, it did. There you have it. Okay, so it's a little funky, but it works. Go back to highway. Gonna have to figure out where to make the next connection. I think it'll be right here. I'm gonna make a regular road, which will be just a regular normal short road. You don't want to make them too long because then it will put bridges if the land is not flat. So you want to build your way across, which means that your road might not be straight. But eventually you're going to come across that problem. Okay, so on ramps I use a single lane. Not always, but usually. There's your single lane on ramp. And off ramp. This intersection obviously is a little bit complex because of the angle. Maybe I'll be able to make a connection, maybe I won't. Got to keep on trying. And you don't have to do it here. You can make the connection anywhere. Or you could skip it altogether. I'm going to try a one-way road. Okay, made the connection. As a general rule, I think it's more important to have the road connection than to worry about knocking buildings down, for example. I don't like this connection, so I'm going to remove it. I think it's a waste. It takes up a lot of space. So I'm going to find the next location. Along with this one here, I'm going to remove this one. I think it's too big. You can see how the game did this off-ramp. I don't like it at all. I'm going to remove it. And I'm going to put a regular road somewhere over here. I think I will do it right here. And again, you want it to be long enough that it doesn't build a bridge. I'm going to use one lane for an on-ramp. And 2 lanes for an off-ramp. If the off-ramp becomes very busy, I might use more than 2 lanes. For example, if they can turn in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different directions, you could use a 5-lane off-ramp. Okay, so let's try again. These connections are tough. I don't want to not do it. We'll try the one-way road again. This is one of those games where if something doesn't work, you have to just keep trying. Which is why I give up. Okay, so I'm going to make the connection like that. And sometimes I might be able to make it work simply by removing the other roads I built and rebuilding them. I'm going to show you an example. I could take this bridge out and try putting in this road. Okay, it's not working. I'm going to pass on this for now. He will not have an off-ramp. See how the next one is? I don't like this at all. I'm going to get rid of it. Build a regular road. Probably from here. And I use the same formula. I use one lane for on-ramps. And 2 for off-ramps. Once again, that doesn't connect. Oh, good, it connected. Wow. Okay, so I've got the workings of a real highway. Next connection right here. This is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult for the on and the off ramps to connect to here. And it's obvious that it's going to have that problem. The intersection is just getting to be a little weird. Part of the reason is the road is a little too short. It's got to go from 8 meters high down to 0 meters. Oh, there we got it. But that's a weird intersection. The way you can fix it is to remove this highlighted piece and connect it from this intersection to this intersection, and then the intersection becomes more normal. So you can see we've got another one of these weird intersections from the game designers. Needs to go. And I think this one is weird. Take it out. This whole thing over here has got to go. Put in a real intersection. Something like this. Put on an on-ramp, single lane. Try and make them look as straight and normal as possible. And a 2-lane off-ramp. Oh, did I do it wrong? No. So it's obvious that the highway is built too close to the regular road to build just a normal off-ramp. Okay, so I did halfway around the island for this highway. And you do want to continue. You want to have highway access throughout your game. People will definitely need it. This one uses a boulevard, so I'm going to continue with a boulevard piece. But I'm going to build it perpendicular. And I don't see any way how I'm going to be able to connect on the southbound. The northbound definitely. Because obviously the road was built too close to the surface roads. So I don't expect to be able to make any of these connections unless it looks really weird like that. And I really don't want that. Okay, highway. We are going to do the on-ramp. Hopefully we'll get one over here too. Oh, we did. That's cool. And off-ramp. Probably going to need a single lane. Single lane obviously has a lot more flexibility. You'll figure it out as you play the game. You really want to avoid these little tiny short roads. So I'm going to skip that one for now. Or maybe build it a little bit differently. Like so it connects to here. You would have to build it like this and then down. And then you have no problem. So I built it 8 meters high over the road, and then I connected to the other road. So again, over here we've got one of those weird on-ramps. Get rid of it. Turn it into something more normal. And obviously I'm using the existing roads for the first time. That's weird. There's something wrong. It won't let go of that. Okay. Never had that happen before. Okay, so this is not going to connect easily over here. For now, I'm going to leave it the way it is. People will manage. I'm going to get rid of this crazy on-ramp and off-ramp. It's completely unnecessary to be that big. And you can make circular on-ramps. I've certainly done them before. But I do it when it's necessary. This is going to be easy. Because we got plenty of room here. Okay. Looks different than the others, but it works. Here we've got another one. These ramps don't have to be that big. I'll show you how I would do it. I would start from here. You want to be at 8 meters, so you click like a pivot point. And work your way down to 4 meters and then down to 0. And then cross under. So I would do something more like this. A lot smaller than what the game includes. But unfortunately, there's no way for people to get back on. Let's see if I can make a connection. Oh, I guess I can. It's going to become a complicated intersection, which is why I'll have to remove it. Definitely need to put in more intersections as soon as possible. I guess here's a good spot, right here. I'm going to build a road, a regular road, from here to here. Oh, it won't do it. Okay, so this is going to be a different intersection. It's going to be elevated. So it's going to look like a bridge. And we should still be able to do the same connections as before. When you have a bridge, though, it it can't connect on bridges, so it might not work. The game does not allow you to connect from a sloped surface, so it has to be flat. Okay, that worked out really nice. I'm going to try and see if I can... no, you know what? I'm going to leave it the way it is. Basically, the point that I was making is that this bridge has a slope to it. And on that slope, the part that is at a slant, you cannot connect roads to. You can only do it on the parts that are level or flat. So I will continue moving to the next junction, which will probably be... oh, this is a complicated area. I suppose over here we could build a connection. It's not going to be perfect, but it will be better than nothing. Okay, so I'm not able to do the four-way interchange because there's this other road that's already existing that came with the game. I'm going to leave it as it is right now. People will find their way to the highway. Okay, so here's another one of those weird connections where they made this really long road that's really unnecessary. And I'm going to replace it with an on-ramp and another on-ramp and two off-ramps. Okay. And here's another example of a really weird road. That I don't like at all. People aren't so much going to be getting on and off the highway, although there might be a popular intersection here or there. For example, near the Sydney Opera House, it's probably going to get crowded. Okay, so you can see my interchange is a lot smaller and I made all the connections. Here's another example of one of those weird interchanges. 1, 2, 3, and then there's a fourth one, which is over here. It really makes me wonder who the designer was. I'm going to make it very simple. And you can make traffic circles. I've done them before. They do work. Almost made it all the way around. This is another example. The crazy interchange. Takes up a lot of space. Needs to be removed. One thing that's funny about the Cities in Motion that came before this version is that you could actually make it so that the cars went the wrong way on the highway. And you could place, like right now you place the roads as a long arc, but in that version you would place them piece by piece. Okay, now this probably is going to require a bridge. Just something really short like that. And I may have done it wrong, so it might not allow me to do the connections I need. But I can always fix the bridge if I need to. Okay, I definitely want to make another connection. Wow. It's kind of funny that they made that road with so few connections. Okay, so I think I'm going to build the next one right over here because the intersection next to it looks way too complicated. On-ramp, on-ramp, and then off-ramp, and off-ramp. One thing that I learned from my previous city is that one car can cause a citywide traffic jam. So having a lot of traffic jams is nothing to be proud of. I'm going to move to make the next connection. We should be almost at the point where I'm finished with the new highway connections. I think I'm going to give it a shot over here. Hopefully it'll work. So far so good. That one looks good. That one looks good. Okay. Sometimes you're going to have weird intersections. Wow, look at that on-ramp. That's absolutely crazy. You don't want something like that. Or this giant circle. The cars don't care. They don't want circles and all these loops and stuff. It's completely meaningless to them. So I'm going to go to the boulevard and I'm going to make an extension here. Build in another bridge. You can see there's a train line that I built. And we shall have an on-ramp and another on-ramp and an off-ramp, another off-ramp, This one's obviously going to be difficult. I might have to skip this one. It doesn't look like it's going to be possible. Okay, so I'll be able to do it. I just got to connect from here down to here. Oh, that would have been nice. I'm going to try building a 4-meter pivot point. Yep, it actually did work. Okay. Need to have it, so... Did I miss a few places? Probably. But that's okay. So we've got another highway, a crossbound highway, and this is going to need on-ramps and off-ramps also. Just not there. One thing I could do is just remove this road completely. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove this road. It's going to be a problem. And I'm going to build it the way I want it to be. Maybe not. Okay, so it's not letting me build it. That's too bad. Okay, I will restore the road that I removed, which went from here to here. It's obviously a mistake. I'm going to redo it more properly this time. Okay. Got another crazy intersection over here. Don't like it. Take out that. Take out that. Don't like this. Don't need it. Build something normal. On-ramp. All that space. Now you'll note that it's a curved road down below, and the curved road might not help. So if I have to, I'm going to delete it. But it looks like it worked anyway. Okay, so it's not letting me build. You can look at the error. It says cannot build in the water. I'm nowhere near the water. This is a bug that I've seen before, where for some reason it thinks you're in the water when you're not. Okay, so I'm going to remove this road. I'm going to pick up a boulevard. I'm going to connect here to here. You'll note it's a straight road. And I'm going to try to connect from here to here. It's still not doing it. That's too bad. The other thing I could do is pull down that expressway. It could be the expressway's fault. It's possible that the expressway has a weird curvature to it. Oh, you know, that expressway is really high. And that height is probably the problem. Because it has to have a much higher slope. Okay, so we're going to skip on that. They'll have to find another way to get to where they're going. I don't like this big loop over here. That's not the way I would connect these two roads. So I'm going to make a smaller loop. It's giving the error again about building on the water. It's weird, it won't build anything. Cannot build in the water. This is a place where you don't want to take that highway down because you might not be able to build it back because of this building in the water bug. So it looks like I lost that interchange. Yeah, it should not be doing this building in the water error. Okay, that's too bad. Well, the traffic's moving along. Let's see how we're doing at the Opera House here. You can see that there is traffic at the Opera House. Not a lot, though. And there are more landmarks I can put down. Now, the other thing I would like to do is I would like to build a highway going through the city. You want people to get onto the highway as quickly as possible, so it makes sense to build it like that. And there's lots of ways to do it. I could easily go horizontally. You just pick one of these roads over here. These roads are not very wide, and if it's not wide, that means you have to build two highways. So to do that, I would start here, right over here and just start building through. And be careful not to knock any of the buildings down. Okay, so it looks like it worked out. Didn't knock anything down. And then, of course, this has to go over to that island. Which is going to knock those buildings down. And then, coming back, we need to connect over to here. Like so. And you want to avoid knocking buildings down. There's a curve on that street, which we could fix later. The curve will prevent some of the land from being used efficiently. And we build it to here. Now you've got to take this highway and you've got to make it so that everything connects. So this would have a connection here. However you want to do it, of course. It could be as simple as that. And it's got to connect over to this other side. Which it looks like we could go underneath. And as you can see, we can connect right there. This is not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to make a service road. But I'm going to do that later. So the service road would mean that this on-ramp and this on-ramp would connect to a road that's alongside, which would later connect to the main road. Now we're going to connect from here to here. And I'm going to have to make a road that goes over, over the highway. And then connects to here. So there we have the entire connection to that highway I just made. However, the highway is not really connected to anything. So I'm going to have to make those connections. And it's going to mean knocking some buildings down. I'm thinking if I do it from the center, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do it from here. So there's an on-ramp. And there's going to be another one here. And then I will build off-ramps. Okay, so I got those off-ramps. Lost some of the building space, unfortunately. But I will have improved traffic flow. Over here I would like to have an on-ramp. So I'll have one like that. And I will make an off-ramp that connects like this. And I would love to have one over here, but I don't think I'll get the connection. I could remove this road and build an off-ramp. Could build a small on-ramp right over here. And on the other side, got to do the same. Since it's a wider road over here, it's 3 lanes, I'm going to widen my highway into a 3-lane highway. I'm going to get onto the suburban road so I knock down the least number of houses. Wow, that's cool. And the next one's going to start right here. I usually start at the center of the intersection. And the roads that the game lays down are quite accurate. They're fairly straight. And they come in perfect sizes. It would be really hard to replicate them. So I now have to connect that with this. Done. Okay, now we've got the on-ramps and the off-ramps. I'm going to put something right here. Wherever it looks obvious is a place where you want to put them. I'm guessing around halfway into the city there's this major road over here. Maybe I'll do it onto that road. Connect from here to here. And connect from here to here. Nice, worked out perfect. And now we got to connect to the highway. So there's no way to know right now where all that traffic is going to go to, so I'm going to put this going like that. And I'm going to have this coming in. I'm going to build it with a pivot point so it's got more of a curve. I will do it on the other side too. I'm going to hit page up twice to set the pivot point, and then, you know what, I'm going to do it a third time because the bridge is higher. And now it's got a little bit of a curve to it. And we want the part that crosses over or under. So I'm going to build it like this. And we need the part that connects to here. I'm going to do it as a loop. So I'm going to start from here. Not working, is it? Try it again. We're going to go from here. Why isn't it working? Come on, buddy. You can loop. We want to go from here. It's going to connect. It's going to look a little funny, but it's going to connect. I'm going to remove this part right here while I work on my underpass. It's just one of the things that's necessary. Sometimes you have to do weird things in order to build it right. Okay, back to the loop. We go here, 12 meters, going to bring it down to 8. Okay, so there we have a loop, and I'm going to remove this piece, and I'm going to remove this piece, and I'm going to connect from here to here. Nice short connection. Okay. So now we've got crosstown traffic. I would like the crosstown traffic to connect to the surface road if possible. I think it'll be fine. There's a lot of traffic over here. So the question is, how do we alleviate that? People are definitely using the crosstown road, which is a good sign. I should probably connect it over here somehow. I could do just a standard thingy like a zigzaggy, something like this. Probably the best way to do it is to connect to this road right here. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to have the on-ramp here and the off-ramp here. And on the other side, I can do the same. It would be nice to have more connections. It's definitely easy to do. You just have to extend a road out to connect to. But for now, I'm going to leave it the way it is. Wow. Okay, so here's a traffic jam. We've got traffic getting onto the road, and this merge is slowing it down. And there's lots of ways to fix this. It's very easy to fix. You'll note that all these cars are in the right lane because they probably want to make a right turn somewhere. One easy way to fix this is to turn this 2-lane bridge into a 3-lane bridge. So basically what would happen is the on-ramp would have its own lane, and the 2 lanes that are ongoing would have their 2 lanes. So it would be the 2 lanes, and the on-ramp would go into 3 instead of into the 2. Let's see how we're doing over here at the Opera House. Nothing special. Over here there's nothing special. And there's no reason why you should have traffic jams. These roads are long roads. Traffic jams happen at intersections and stop signs and traffic lights and things like that. Okay, so that's all I'm going to play for right now. I'm going to save my game. You should actually save your game more often than I did. This is going to be called Game 2. You don't want to run into a situation where you can't play anymore, or where you lose data because you didn't save your game and the game crashes. It happened to me lots of times, and I lost all sorts of rails and bridges and things like that. Off the top of my head, need a highway over here in the northern part, and there's none. So I'm probably going to build a highway into these neighborhoods. And over here, there's no highway going through most of these neighborhoods, so I'm going to have to build a highway through there. Where did I build the highway? We have one here, and we have one here that goes across, and it's packed. Okay, so it's possible that this intersection is where the block is. So the way to fix it is A, remove the intersection. B, give them an extra lane so that when they want to get off here, they can queue up in that extra lane. Widen the intersection. I'm going to fix this by widening the bridge. I'm going to build it into a 3-lane bridge, like so. And that should help things. It'll help things with the traffic getting on, and it will help things with the traffic getting off. Okay, so I'm probably going to make a crossover at some point for the highway for these people here in the center, so that basically there'll be an on-ramp or two somewhere in the center here where people can get onto the highway. And they got to build a lot of roads, regular roads, to get more people into the city, get some growth in the city. There's a lot of traffic over here, all looking to get on that highway. I guess I could build an on-ramp right here. Oh, that's why it's a one-way road. That's a one-way road, which means that you have to build the on-ramps a certain direction. So how do I alleviate this traffic over here? How do you get them onto that highway? I could build another on-ramp right here. Just have to build one right like this. Problem solved. Filling up these areas requires building regular roads using sidewalks, like so. This would build a bridge, which is why we don't want to do that. You can see that it's built a bridge. It's coming from a bridge is the reason why. So we want to be careful sometimes when you lay the roads down to avoid those bridges, because no house will grow on those bridges. So what I would do perhaps is build it more like this. And then connect this like that. Already have a house. And obviously it's logical to make connections like this. So I definitely recommend it. One of the issues also has to do with the size of the buildings. If you want a dense city, you need to have roads that can handle the capacity. Houses aren't going to, these two-lane roads might produce a lot of houses, but if you want those big buildings, you're going to need bigger roads. And you might get a lot of industrial buildings over here. Okay, so that's all for today. If you have any questions or comments, please post below. I'll have a new video soon that continues on with this city. As I said, I'm giving up on my old city because it was just way too big. This one I'm going to try and design it to use less resources. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. Thank you.